And India has scrapped local trials for well-established foreign coronavirus vaccines on Thursday. This would expedite the vaccination campaign in the country that has been devastated by the second wave of the pandemic. Now, the world's second most populous country in May recorded its highest monthly COVID-19 death toll since the pandemic began last year. Authorities have said that the mRNA vaccines like Pfizer may arrive in India by July 2021.
Yes, we are engaged with Pfizer because they have indicated availability of certain volume of vaccine in coming months, so possibly starting in July. And we are looking at what their expectations from the government are, and they are looking at what our expectations from them are. That's the process in which this will move, because they have to come into India, they have to apply for licensure, so that's one path. And there are imperatives of cold chain and supply, etc. So that's being looked at.
Only about 3% of India's 1.3 billion people have been fully vaccinated, the lowest rate among the 10 countries with the most cases. India pledged last month to fast-track imports, but its insistence on local trials and dispute over indemnity stalled discussions with Pfizer. The government said that the provision has now been further amended to waive the trial requirement altogether for the well-established vaccine manufactured in other countries. Pfizer said in a statement that it remains committed to continuing our engagement with the Government of India towards making the Pfizer-BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine available for use in the country. The Narendra Modi government is currently examining the company's request to grant it legal protections against the use of its vaccine in India. And joining us live on this broadcast is Dr. Narendra Kumar Arora. He is the chairman of India's COVID-19 working group of the National Technical Advisory Group on Immunization. Thank you so much for joining us, sir. Apart from COVID-19, India is also facing a surge in black fungus and white fungus infections. And amid this discussion, steroids prescription has taken center stage. Can you just help us understand at what stage steroids should be prescribed for them to be effective?
All the medicines available today for serious patients, the only kind of a panacea or a life-saving drug is steroids. But if steroid is given right from day one of the illness when it is mild, then actually it is very harmful because it accelerates the growth of virus. But when the disease becomes serious, and what are the symptoms of seriousness? When somebody has difficulty in breathing, somebody has sliding oxygen saturation, somebody is having chest pain, somebody is not able to walk and becomes breathless. In these situations, when you require oxygen, when you require hospitalization, steroid is life-saving. In fact, there is no particular antiviral which is known. So if I give it early enough, before it is required, it can be potentially fatal, or it can lead to complications like what you were just mentioning, like black fungus or white fungus or yellow fungus. Another important component in this whole pandemic we have seen is that people have irrationally used a very large number of antibiotics, very high-end antibiotics, which also lead to colonization of very resistance of very bad bacteria. But in the process, fungi also grow and they can attack the body. So we need to be extremely careful. Wherever rational, wherever appropriate, steroid should be given. So in the first half of the illness, steroid can be very harmful. In the second half of the illness, when you are sick and severe, you require hospitalization, steroids are life-saving.
All right, sir. Thank you so much for clarifying that. Now, there are also concerns that a potential third wave of the virus in India would be more fatal for children. What's your take on this?
There is a lot of talk about children and young people getting disproportionately affected. But when we look at the data of the last wave as well as the current wave data, we find proportionate wise there is no increase in children getting affected or youth getting affected. So there is no reason to believe. But I must tell you that even today, the more than 80% of the hospitalization of the deaths are in more than 45-year-old. and more than 90% of the hospitalization is among more than 45. So that has been the reason for prioritization, giving the vaccines to these people so that they are protected from severe illness and fatalities. And in the coming wave, again, we need not be very worried about children and youth. However, it is very essential that special requirements of children particularly are there in our COVID management centers. For example, because children below 10 years require a mother, father to look after them, whether they are infected or not infected. And therefore, a special kind of a facility has to be created. Another important thing is pregnant women, because pregnant women, when they get infection, they can deliver prematurely. So for them also, they have to be they need a special kind of a care where the newborn is to be taken care of, the ventilators, the incubators, and the neonatal intensive care unit. So we would very strongly suggest across the country special facilities geared toward child care as well as care of pregnant women is absolutely necessary. We don't intend to have more, but we need to be better prepared so that we can manage them and avoid these precious lives.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.